In the southern Yemeni port city of Hodeidah, hundreds of desperate people wait in line for a handout.
Food, cash assistance, healthcare assistance.
8 million people rely on the food that comes through the port. The offensive by Saudi and Emirati-backed government forces is hurting them already. Shops, bakeries, and restaurants are closed, and grocery shelves remain bare.
Where available, price of wheat and vegetable oil have increased by about 30%, while prices of cooking gas increased by 52% in the last week.
The UN says most areas of the city don't have electricity or water. It warns that any sanitation problems could trigger another cholera outbreak. Hundreds of thousands have been infected by cholera and diphtheria since the war began 4 years ago. 10,000 people have been killed, and 3 million of Yemen's 28 million people have been forced to leave their homes.
There are 13,974 internally displaced families inside the province of Hodeidah. The humanitarian organization's efforts only meet 10% of what's necessary.
At this Yemen Aid Organization's meeting in Paris, some participants wonder how the West claims to be worried about the plight of Yemenis, but continues to sell arms to the Saudis and Emiratis.
It's extremely complicated to discuss the humanitarian situation and peace process while bombs are being randomly dropped on civilians' heads.
As fighting continues in Yemen, the UN's envoy remains hopeful that a political solution can be found. Houthi rebels say they're willing to hand over management of Hodeidah port to the UN, but the Emiratis demand that Houthi fighters leave the city altogether as a precondition for any peace deal. In the meantime, the prognosis for the southern port city of Hodeidah is not good. For centuries, Yemen was known as the Arabian Peninsula's most fertile land. It was often called the Arabian Felix, Latin for happy or fortunate. Now, Yemenis find themselves in what the UN calls the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Chaderjian, Al Jazeera.